The business model overall for the beef industry in the U.S. and for that matter in North America, or a portion of it, is broken. And by that I mean we're producing beef by going down only one superhighway, one size fits all. How we fix that is that 56% of the total beef consumed in the United States, I don't know what the exact figure is in Canada, but it's probably not too far off. But I know that it's 56% in the U.S. is ground beef, hamburger, okay? It was 42% in 1970, and I think it'll get up to 60 to 65% in the next 15 or 20 years. And that's driven by affordability. The beef industry in North America was built on cheap corn and cheap energy. We don't have either one today. The beef industry's opportunity, Jason, is to get away from putting as much grain through these cattle and using more grass and more forage to produce at a lower cost and more productively ground beef. And our current grading system administered by the government in the U.S. and in Canada really needs to be altered. And I think the great opportunity is that we're going to see more grass and less grain used. And ground beef and hamburger is a high quality product. Canadians and the American people love ground beef. We're seeing record levels of middle meats, the higher priced beef cuts, being ground and then made out of into ground beef. Not because people don't like filet mignons and ribeye steaks, they love those, but it's a cost issue, okay? And the domestic consumer demand in the United States, I'm not speaking for Canada, but for the U.S., for beef has actually gone south, okay? But the domestic consumer demand for ground beef has gone north. We've got to use more production efficiencies. I'm bullish on food and in agriculture. I think that of all and energy, but in the beef industry and the chicken business is frankly beating our butts. I mean, they're much more efficient, and the per capita consumption of beef in the United States has declined 35 pounds or 37% since the mid-1970s. The per capita consumption of chicken has gone up 48 pounds and 25% in the same time period, okay? And the reason for that is not because people don't like beef, it's a cost differential. Today it costs to feed an animal through a feedlot in the United States $1, $2, $3, $4 per hundredweight to put on a pound of gain. It costs 45 cents to do that for a chicken and a broiler. And in the U.S. today, and a lot of people even in the U.S. aren't fully focused on this, all this ground beef we're consuming, the question needs to be asked, where is it coming from? Well, it's coming, 25% comes from cull, beef, and dairy cows and bulls. 15% comes from imported trimmings and beef from Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, in the case of the U.S. 60% of it is coming from cattle that are going through a full-fed, $7 and $7.5, $8 corn. 45% of all the annual fed cattle marketings in the U.S. end up going into ground beef. That makes no sense. We need to make a change, and I think I like to talk about opportunities. The real opportunity is to use more grass and less grain. We can produce more grass-fed cattle. We can produce half-fed cattle that are on feed for 70, 80, 90 days and make ground beef out of them and do it much more cost-effectively. We don't have to be putting everything through a full-finished program. That's what we're doing. That's where the beef industry model is broken.